Every year when it comes time to look at the budget in Pennsylvania, there's sort of a similar pattern that plays out in the media and oftentimes in the public eye because of the voices that talk about the budget. Everyone wants a little bit bigger slice of the pie for their particular special interest or program. And we sometimes lose sight of the fact that Pennsylvania has a spending crisis, a financial, fiscal, house on fire, a budget that's spending more and more every year. If you look back, since 1970, we're now spending, adjusted for inflation, we're spending 151% more taxpayer dollars to run the Pennsylvania government than we did back in 1970. And yet, I've yet to come across a citizen who says we have a government that's serving us 151% better than the one we had back in 1970. So we have this big overall spending crisis in Pennsylvania, and yet so many times the whole nature of the budget debate each year, and we're coming up on that now, we're getting into the season, we have to get the budget done by the end of June, the debate becomes dominated by voices asking for a bigger piece of a pie, but the problem is the pie is so big that it's become unsustainable. There's really, I like to point out 4 particular cost factors that are almost beyond our control that we've got to figure out a way to nip in the bud that are driving the costs up higher and higher every year. If you look at debt, our Commonwealth owes billions of dollars to creditors. And just the service of that debt, like your credit card payment, that's the Commonwealth's credit card payment, that in itself is now consuming more than $1 billion of our budget every year. So that's programs we can't do to fund, say, the state police or public safety or highways and bridges, $1 billion, and that's going up every year. Even though we have curtailed the rate of spending, we've got a problem that we've essentially got to wrestle with to knock down that debt service that's knocking out $1 billion every year in our budget. The pension system is basically overpromised. We are going from over $1 billion a year in state contributions to the pension system this year to what's going to be, if you just go down a few years down the road, we're looking at over about $4 to $5 billion out of a $27 billion general fund budget. So we're getting to the point where a huge chunk of our budget is merely going to be used to fund pensions for folks who have already retired from the system. That's unsustainable. We've got to reform the pension system, and we've got to do it soon. Corrections, prison system, going back since 1980. Back around 1980, we had 7,000 or so prisoners in the state prison system here in PA. Now we've got 50,000 prisoners. Cost to those prisoners, roughly $35,000 per year per inmate. It's a system that's too full. We've got too many inefficiencies. People who have even been told that they can leave prison, but they can't get out because the processing time is too slow. We've got recidivism problems. People are committing crimes and ending right back in prison. So we've got to look at ways to work on to focus on areas of corrections that actually help prevent future crimes. And welfare, public welfare, is really the big, most aggressive factor in this budget that's making it unsustainable for Pennsylvania taxpayers. This year, it looks like we're going to be spending roughly 40% of our entire state budget on public welfare programs. So obviously, we're always going to need to have a safety net for some people who are truly needy, but we've gone to the point where this public welfare system has expanded utterly beyond what's sustainable. Taxpayers can't afford it anymore. It's making us uncompetitive as a state. We can't get the good jobs that will ultimately make us a prosperous state that can take care of the education of our children and the people in need. We're so overburdened now by this gigantic welfare system that's been expanded through decades of policies that were based on the model of close your eyes and authorize, basically handing out benefits to people who truly aren't in the kind of need that the welfare system was designed for. We've got to maintain our fiscal discipline. Governor Corbett really set a new precedent with last year's budget where we cut spending for the first time in 40 years. $1 billion was cut off the Pennsylvania budget. We've got to maintain that discipline. The governor's budget that he has proposed this year does reduce spending. We've got to stay on that track. We can't be tempted or pressured into starting back down the expansion track where we're spending more taxpayer money. We've got to stay on the path of being fiscally disciplined to protect Pennsylvania taxpayers. You can get more information if you go to my website, repbloom.com, and there's a video there called The 4 Alarms that I've done as a joint project with the Commonwealth Foundation to help educate citizens and taxpayers about the budget crisis that's threatening to consume Pennsylvania's fiscal situation here.